Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Kitos, and I am presenting my last final capstone. I'm super excited. I just want y'all to know that it took me 9 years to get to where I'm at today. 9 years of schooling, 9 years to finally submit my capstone, to finally graduate. Like, I'm super excited for this opportunity and for the next season of my life. And I do want to just put it out there for y'all that I'm super excited that you get to read my capstone, you get to review it, you get to watch the documentaries that are within my capstone, and I just hope that that you are inspired and that you are encouraged and that you leave this session with motivation to do something around this social justice issue. Like again, I'm just like I said, I'm super excited, and I can't wait for you to review my capstone. So let's get started. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to this part of it. All right. So here's my capstone. And so there was some recommendations to make some edits on my capstone. I went ahead and made those edits. So while I go through each tab, I'll go ahead and let you know what those corrections were. Okay. So this is regarding the harms of legalizing and fully decriminalizing the sex trade. And I'm also going to be highlighting embracing the equality model approach. So then right here, I discuss a little bit about the author, a little bit of my journey. Like I said, I've been in school for 9 years. So for me to be able to receive my master's is a huge milestone in my life. This picture right here is when I first received my AA's degree at Santa Rosa Junior College. Then I went to Sonoma State to get my bachelor's degree. So this picture right here is when I got my bachelor's degree. And then I talk about, because I'm a motivational speaker as well. So I talk about all my speaking engagements. I have a book that came out. I have my memoir that came out last year, which is called Purified in the Flame. So I talk about my book as well. And I also talk about, the leadership skills I have, the advocacy work I do here in Sonoma County and all over the Bay Area. I discuss, the awards I've received, because of the work I do in the community. Here's my graduation pictures from, the master's program. I haven't received my master's yet, but I took my graduation pictures. So here's my abstract. So in my abstract, I get to break it down a little bit more for y'all, the harmful effects of legalizing and fully decriminalizing the sex trade and how it will lead to an increase in the amount of people who are trafficked, and exploring how an equality model approach can be implemented to decriminalize victims while still holding exploiters accountable. So I discuss that further. And I also discuss, my own unique experiences. When I was a minor, I was sold into trafficking, and how, this is where my motivation started in the first place, was to give back because of my past experience, because of my trauma, because of what had happened to me. And I was silenced for so many years. And so now I'm given an opportunity on platform to be able to share my experiences and use what happened to me for something good. And so that's what sparked this passion, and especially my capstone. I'm like, oh, I need to talk about trafficking, and I need to talk about the political parts, the legislation parts. I need to talk more about what's going on in our community. So this is why I have my capstone focus on this issue. So I also highlight my experience where, I heard about a district supervisor in San Francisco that she was working towards legalizing or creating, legalizing the sex trade and creating a red light district. And so when I heard of this in San Francisco, I didn't want to have I did not agree with what she was doing. And so that's why I had a meeting with her. Me and my team had a meeting. And because of that situation as well, also sparked up me becoming more of an advocate around this. And so I'm just kind of highlighting the little things that kind of sparked me up and gave me passion about why I'm doing on this subject. So then I talk about my vision statement. My own unique life circumstances served as the motivation for my interest in this subject. Seeing that a supervisor in San Francisco was lobbying to legalize the sex trade today has given me the strength to use my voice. I encourage other survivors to do the same. I intend to put the information presented here in my efforts to prevent the legalization and full decriminalization of the sex trade. My voice can be heard on many different platforms regarding this subject, since I am a survivor of human trafficking and because I have firsthand experience with it. My hope is that by the end of this capstone project, my colleagues and the reader that's observing this will be moved by what they discover and join forces with me to fight against the normalization of sexual exploitation. Realizing the ways in which the legalization and full decrim of the sex trade leads to a rise in the volume of human trafficking compels us to take action to prevent this from occurring. The new the general public, law enforcement, officials, nonprofit organizations, stakeholders, other survivors are the most important members of my audience. With a master's degree, that I will be having under my belt, I tend to position myself as an expert who has both academic expertise and real life experience. I come at this problem not only from the perspective of my own life experiences, but also with the preponderance of evidence to back up my argument. So this is right here. I took this picture at the actual corner where I was sold out for trafficking when I was 16 years old. This was a pivotal moment for me to take my graduation pictures at this very corner where I was sold for sex at 16 years old. I'm taking my power back. So for me, it was like I was going. It was like I had to go there and take my pictures boldly at that corner and be courageous and encourage others that they can go back to their pain. They can go back to wherever they were abused or hurt, wherever their trauma comes from, and they can take their power back. So this symbols that. Very empowering for me. Okay, so the next tab is regarding human trafficking. So I use this tab so people can understand, because I don't want to just jump into the really heavy topic about the harms of fully decrim and legalizing the sex trade without breaking down the basics. People need to know what human trafficking is. And so I went ahead and made a tab in regards to what human trafficking is. And then we also talked about different versions of human trafficking. There's a interfamilial pimping, where we discuss a daughter desperate for the approval of her mother viewing her daughter as a means to provide for her family through exploitation. So the mother's selling the daughter to pay the bills, and so that's called interfamilial pimping. And then we also have romantic relationships where this is through Romeo pimping, where it can happen through peers, friends, any type of relationship where somebody's manipulated or coerced into being sold for sex. And so we talk about that. And then we talk about trafficking is always being kidnapped or being chained. And so majority of the time, the chains are the emotional ties. And so that's the trauma bond. Somebody can develop a Stockholm syndrome when they have that bond with their abuser. And so we need to understand it's not like literal chains. It's like the trauma bonds. And that's what we mean by being trapped, being in captivity, being in modern day slavery, like they're trapped in this relationship. And so also too, another form of trafficking is CEO pimping, where a man who gives a woman opportunities for success, glamour, and acceptance at the price of her exploitation. On the outside, she seems well put together and cared for. So this can happen through modeling agencies. This can happen through the internet, Snapchat. People will look at somebody that's coming from trauma, that's coming from vulnerable situations. They see an article or they see a newspaper saying, "Oh, we have a really nice job for modeling," or we have a nice job working at a magazine store and it's a really good pay. And then you go, you think, "Oh, this is good money. Let me go meet these individuals," and bam, it end up being the traffickers. So this is something that we have to get educated on. I also added a video in regards to what human trafficking is, according to the Blue Campaign. So this is really informational as well. Here's some common myths and versus facts. So I thought that was important to add on here as well. And so here's me, my partner, Lisa McQuaid. She's also the co-founder of Redemption House. So me and my partner co-founded an organization that serves human trafficking victims here in the Bay Area. And so this is one of our pictures, promoting or putting out there our website link so people can check us out. Okay. So my next tab is concepts and theories. And so I just want to highlight real quick, there was a couple courses within the social justice and human rights program that really caught my attention, that really helped me grasp the concept of social justice and human rights. Throughout the journey in the social justice and human rights program, I have learned to better understand the social justice issue regarding full decrim and legalization of the sex trade. And I have moved to take action against it. The two courses that prepared me for the battle ahead are JHR 550 Global Justice and JHR 501 Pro Seminar in Social Justice and Human Rights. In these classes, I learned the importance of fighting for the rights of others, These courses have taught me to look at social justice and human rights from a scholarly and lived experience perspective. When I'm invited to speak on my expertise around social justice issues, domestically and internationally, I am forced to be a record with because of the knowledge and insights I have developed in these courses. Readings from the authors like Khan 2019 and Sen 2004 have really opened up my mind to think outside the box around my advocacy against full decrim and legalization of the sex trade. So Khan 2019 discussion of the term global justice refers to normative theories about the regions and scope of commitments to address economic equality, inequality, human rights violations, and poverty throughout developing nations. And so, like I said, these classes really helped me grasp what the battle that lays ahead of me. So I break it down more. I also discuss human rights. So human rights are a vital requirement for the development of a civilized society. The violation of any fundamental individual right reduces a person's humanity and puts vulnerable groups under constant threat of losing theirs. It is vital that our community understands the necessity of defending human rights in order for the world to build a safe space for everyone. So this is, like I said, a little section of my human rights and the understanding I developed. So I also linked a reading from the course onto this section. And then also, discuss a little bit more of the social justice issue as well, or what social justice is to me. People from marginalized backgrounds have the navigational ability to think beyond conventional wisdom to recognize social reality for what it is and to create methods to meet those realities head on. For example, I'm assigned to a human trafficking task force and am the only actual survivor of human trafficking on my team because I come from a marginalized community and other members on the board come from privileged social positions. When I shine light on circumstances and context, it broadens their perspective towards the population we are serving. Those who are in the sex trade have so much expertise and transferable skills that can be used for a greater purpose. Just like my story, many individuals subjected to sex trade do not know their truth and value. So I also linked this reading material from the course onto this page as well. And so one of the things that my classmates or my reviewers that they gave me their feedback discussed to me that I should be more, more informational around where the equality model came from. So I discussed where the equality model came from. The equality model originated in Sweden in 1999 as a tool to combat commercial sexual exploitation while promoting gender equality. In the years that have followed, the equality model has been adopted by a host of countries that have prioritized human rights and gender justice, including Canada, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Iceland, France, Israel, and Norway. Today, there is a growing movement advocating for its option by the United States. The equality model was developed to listen to survivors of the sex trade, who are the ultimate authorities on their own experience. At the heart of this model is their belief that treating prostitute or trafficked persons as a victim of a crime and not criminals themselves is a critical first step in the fight for an exploitation-free world. But we can't stop there. Advocates for the equality model believe that the provision of much-needed social services and the embrace of policies that promote economic justice are necessary in order to help us to seek exit the sex trade, stay out of the sex trade. So we need to be able to make it easy for victims of human trafficking that are in the sex trade that want to get out of the sex trade. We need to make it easy for them. We need to be able to offer them resources. We need to have a place for them to stay. We need to have an advocate on site when they come in point of contact with law enforcement. We need to have these wraparound services for them when they exit so they're not going back to that cycle. So, and then I also break down more of the legalizing and full decrim of the sex trade. So on my first tab, which is the home tab, there was some language that my other reviewer told me that I should, switch up or talk about more, and I made those corrections as well right here. So there were some terms that I needed to correct regarding the fully decrim and legalizing, and I made those corrections. Okay, so again, like I said here, I talked about my personal experience. I got into more depth about legalizing and fully decrim of the sex trade. And I also tied in a reading from Ben Ami 2017 in regards to decrim and legalizing the sex trade. Okay. So my next tab is legalization and full decriminalization of the sex trade and the equality model. So it's just another tab for me to break down more of what it is, because sometimes it can be a lot of information. And so I want to be able to have different tabs to keep people engaged, to keep my audience engaged, and also to keep everybody on track on what the social justice issue is. So here I break down more of the red light district. I also want to highlight on the first home tab where I discuss a little bit of my story. Another reviewer was telling me that I need to break down what the governor's pardon is, what an unconditional governor's pardon is. So I made those corrections. And what that means is that I am now a member of society, and I was able to get my rights back. And so I broke that down in my story as well. So like I said, here I discussed the red light district, broke down the equality model. Again, also broke down red light districts that are taking place in different countries and how it's not the best approach. So because of this, it supports my argument of how we should not legalize sex trade or have a red light district or fully decrim. We should embrace the equality model around this. I also added some videos to discuss how decrim of the sex trade can increase trafficking. Here I am talking more about the equality model again. So that's like the theme, equality model. I have a video from Exodus Cry that talks about why we should not legalize prostitution. And then my audience. So I really want to highlight this. So I went ahead and added who my audience is, and that is one of the things that my reviewers have mentioned, that I should discuss who my audience is going to be. So stakeholders, legislators, politicians, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, community leaders, public servants, and law enforcement are my target audience I want to reach. My mission is to educate everyone involved about the harms of fully legalizing and decriminalizing the sex trade, and how doing so does not make the sex trade safer. Implementing my personal lived experiences and arguments from reliable sources supports my stance on this social justice issue. When making legislative decisions, survivors must be heard. So that's my audience perspective. And I also tied in gender-based violence and sex trafficking class I'm currently in right now. So JHR 598. So I tied in a reading to towards my impact. Like what am I trying to achieve here? So I really like the gender violence class because it taught me the importance of how this is something we need to take a look at, the gender violence, and the importance of being aware about trafficking, the importance of the sex trade, and the importance of just everything that ties in with human trafficking. Like, we need to take a look at that. So in my JH 598 gender-based violence and sex trafficking class, I have learned that sex trafficking of women and girls is a form of gender-based violence. So Burke, Emma, and Dylan 2019 highlights that women and girls worldwide are born into social cultural systems that disadvantage them in ways that affect their daily lives, both openly and secretly. And patriarchy, women and girls are socially disadvantaged. So patriarchy is social cultural practices that promote men and harm women. The institutions of society are structural violence to harm people and maintain status of less privilege. This indicates that these institutions, norms, rules, and practices are based against women and serve to disadvantage them in favor of men. So this is a reading that I found in one of the articles in this class. My purpose in creating this website is to raise awareness about my gender-based violence in human trafficking. No, about gender-based violence in human trafficking. I am convinced that by visiting this website, others will be inspired to join me in saying no to legalizing and fully decrim the sex trade. And I add a little bit of, and then also the reading that I highlighted here, I added to this tab. All right. So I have a tab right here of my lived experiences. So I also highlight those articles that I was a part of. I also highlighted my book. I highlighted 2 videos from other stories. And like I said, I just highlighted, interviews, awards, stuff that I have done in the community to back up my lived experiences argument. So, and then I also go over here. I highlight Redemption House. The Redemption House is a nonprofit that me and my partner co-founded. And so and I consider this an exit resource. So that's why I was mentioning that it's important to have exit resources in as part of the equality model. So Redemption House in the Bay Area is considered an exit resource. So here's my board of directors. We are located in the Bay Area. So I talk about, kind of our mission and vision. And then I talk about what we do. So I did change this a little bit. I added more of the work we do. So we do support groups, we have street outreach, we have community connections, which is presentations, and then we do mentorship. So this is Redemption House. And then my last tab is my works cited. So I'm going to add all the information on here. All right, well, I am done. I'm so excited that you get to review this. Thank you so much. And thank you for just continuing on this journey with us so we all can submit our capstones, review our capstones, and then we can graduate. Thank you so much.